What's up, YouTube? JF Juggernaut 1. I'm going to be doing a deck profile of the deck I ran at World Championship, North American World Championship qualifiers. I got the Esadari mat. Thought I'd do the profile on this mat. I was going to do it differently, but apparently my webcam is being a pain in the ass, so this isn't going to work that way. So I'm just going to do it like this, even though I don't usually like to. We'll go with the main. I'm going to go with the main, side, and extra. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. So yeah, as I said, this is basic Tengu Synchro. So triple Tengu. This card is broken. I doubt it's going to get hit by the ban list, but you have no idea how much I want it to. This card is very odd just because of the fact that it opens up so many different deck possibilities, and yet it's just so overpowered. So I'm not sure how I feel about it in a way. I kind of just want this card to go away because I don't like how almost everybody's playing it. I thought this would be somewhat balanced in its use, but it just really isn't. It's overused in a sense. Double Caius, the Shadow Monarch. Caius was very hot and cold for me, I guess is the best way of putting it, throughout my events there. And I'll tell you like kind of what cards were changed, by the way, in between. But yeah, Caius was very good. It was very amazing removal, gets around oppression, but at the same time, I just did not like all the times it got Veilered. It didn't get Veilered that often, but more often than I would have liked it to. But that's kind of to be expected in this meta. So you know, it's all right, I suppose. I managed anyway. I'm still glad I ran it, but it's just that aspect of it really annoyed me. To Raiko. Right, this deck kind of mills a lot more than not a lot more, but a little bit more compared to the other Tengu Synchro decks. I just like it because it accelerates the deck in a sense, especially with a bunch of the cards you're playing. Oh, and I also ran a Lila because it's also a solid turn 1 play if you don't draw Tengu, and works well with the plant engine. It just applies a lot of pressure to your opponent, so I really like that. Next, the plant engine, 2 qualifiers, dandelion, spore, global, pretty standard. You know, they all just put in a lot of work. This deck is very likely, this engine is very likely going to get hit in some way on the ban list, but we'll see what happens with that. The only thing I could really see them doing is hitting lone fire, but some people say they should ban Dandelion, but I don't know if makes any sense. 2 Debris Dragon, you know, straightforward. The card is just busted. Double Effect Veiler, specifically for this meta. In a sense, I almost wish I'd taken one out, but I felt like it was still very good in the plant matchup with, or in the mirror match, I should say. You know, Caius, Trishula, Debris Dragon, cards like that just really made me want to play this at 2 as opposed to 1. And next we got like the kind of the one-offs, Sankin, because you know, searches for everything in the deck. I did choose to run a Card Trooper because I just like it's a plus. It mills. It's a nice card in my opinion because it just has a bunch of things going for it, but 2 didn't make much sense. Just because there aren't many times where I want to play it over what I have in my hand. And the last monster, which I didn't run in my first LZQ, and afterwards I felt like an idiot for not having it, but it saved my ass in a number of games throughout the day. Gores. Gores is just utterly ridiculous. I totally underestimated its value, and I'm probably just going to continue to run it in almost every deck I play. It's just that good. I was also testing out Tragodia in this deck, but Tragodia is just not good. It really isn't. So I just kind of realized it's just not worth playing. If this deck had more draw power, if this was Junk Doppel, I'd say maybe it works, but otherwise, nah, not really. Now onto the spells. Triple Avarice. I wish I'd been able to get a super one of this, a 3rd super, but I didn't get a chance, and everyone was overvaluing it in my opinion. But yeah, 3 Pot of Avarice. This card is just broken. This thing needs to go to 1 on the next ban list. As much as I love it, it is just utterly stupid. putting it to 2 doesn't really do anything. You really have to put it to 1 to really give it to really create an impact. But yeah, it's just super good when you can recycle your Tengus and such. 2 MST, dealing with just kind of your card for extra back row removal, dealing with the anti-meta matchup, and just any deck that runs back rows in particular that hurt you. That's the problem with decks like these. There's a lot of cards that could potentially side in to kill you. 1 for 1 because the card is absurd. It's a card that arguably should be banned. Foolish Burial. I ran Charge just for the accelerated milling, and because I was running Lila as well, I wanted to be able to search it out. Trunade, I'm starting to think they should, well, not starting to, I've been for quite a while now, but I'm thinking they should probably ban this and bring back Heavy Storm, just because Heavy Storm at least had some balance to it. Giant Trunade, rarely does it ever matter that the cards are getting bounced to hand as opposed to being destroyed. Hell, the whole bouncing it back in a sense is even more broken if you use it when you have cards like Limit Reverse and Call of the Haunted out. Reborn and Dark Hole, staples. Book of Moon, this card in my opinion is a staple. It stops so much. You don't necessarily need it, but I wanted to play it anyway. And 1 enemy controller, because I opted for this over Mind Control because it can just be a defensive card, and it actually stops effect failure, which is really nice. Because you'll just, if you go Debris Dragon, I did this once, you go Debris Dragon, target your monster, they go Veiler, chain tribute the Debris Dragon for enemy controller, you get their monster, and you get a monster back from your graveyard, so it's pretty awesome. Now for traps, I played Limit Reverse and Call of the Haunted. I played both because they're just both very good cards. Especially when you mill a lot, they just become live very easily. Sorry for the camera stuff, by the way. It's just I'm trying my best here. But yeah, 2 good cards. I just wanted to try both out. It was pretty successful. Mirror Force and TT. Torrential Tribute is a card that you have to play. Too many ways to plus off in this deck. Mirror Force, people were telling me asking me why was I running it. I was specifically running this because I just like it as the fact it can just destroy multiple monsters my opponent controls. Yeah, certain decks kind of laugh at it, like when Tengu laughs at it, for example. But at the same time, I just kind of liked that it's just very good mass removal, especially when you're playing against bad matchups. And last but not least, the Solemn Brigade. I borrowed a warning from my friend, as I mentioned, and Judgment is just boss. These cards are just unbelievable. It's crazy. One of the main reasons I actually really like Judgment is a lot of times my opponent will only have 1 back row left, and I'll negate it knowing that I can just do a whole lot of shenanigans after that, because they'll most likely not have any other out to stopping my plays. So yeah, that's the main deck. For the extra deck, I ran 2 formulas, 1 Armory Arm, 1 Hyper Librarian. I had 2, but I lent 1 of them to my friend. He still has it, but I lent it to him for the main event because I realized he needed it way more than I did. Even though he was running Twilight, which doesn't really synchro all that much, but still. Android, just kind of as the second librarian. I also ran Catastor because Catastor was just like another great level 5 I could sync for. Iron Chain because I don't care if Dionyte's 100 points stronger, can run over Stardust. I would rather still be able to sync for this with Debris Dragon need be. Brio, Black Rose, Ancient Fairy, Scrap Archfiend. I'm probably just going to take this out, but I needed a level 7, and I thought it would actually be a good idea just to something to sync for with Caius and like Glow Bulber Spore. Stardust, Scrap, Trishula. My My friends told me to try to play a second one of this, but I didn't feel like putting the money into it, and you really don't need to play 2 when you're running 3 Pot of Avarice and Shooting Star, which was so awesome to play. Just because, I mean, I really should have gotten this thing signed by Greg Abbey, but I was just too busy. But, you know, very helpful. It did win me a match at one point because, I mean, the card, or 2 matches, I should say. The card is boss. What else is there to say? Side deck. My side deck was definitely hard. It's gonna change. But then again, most likely I'm going to tweak this deck out in within the next few days. 1 Malevolent and 2 Dust Tornadoes. I kept telling myself if I'm not going to main the 2 Dust Tornadoes, I'm going to at least side them because they're very good. Just in the side deck, because I'm practically always going to side this in when my opponent sides in their hate for my deck. That's just normally how it is. A Tech D Prison, I was siding 2, but I took one of them out for a card that you're going to be very surprised to see. But, oh yeah, and the Deep Prison is just kind of for just extra removal if I'm going up against kind of more like anti-meta decks. 2 Cyber Dragons, very good against the same matchups, like, you know, he's anti-meta, GB, stun, you just kind of summon it, gives you an extra summon, you know, you bait out their back row at the very least, so it's good. And so you also have the Chimera deck, which I like to keep in the side deck as well. 1 Mind Crush, I thought I was going to end up siding this more, but that just didn't end up happening. I don't think I kind of just forgot about it, but I could have sided this in against a lot of decks. Just some decks do a lot of searching, so this card actually would have been very good against the TG matchup because of all the searching they do. Double DD Crow. You know, just boss. I could have theoretically mained one of these, but I didn't think I was going to end up playing Tengu Synchro as much as I did. 2 Chain Disappearance. This card is just nasty, just utterly nasty. I didn't always side in 2, but I just really like this card regardless. It's just it's so nasty, especially when you play against certain decks. But yeah, it's pretty nuts, just pretty nuts. And a card that I was originally playing in the main deck, I took it out for the I took it out after my after my second LCQ, and then I decided to put it in the side deck for the regional qualifier. Titanial. Oh god. You know what? I used to hate this card. I used to seriously hate this card with a freaking passion, but things changed when I really saw how good this can be against certain matchups. The problem is it's a bitch to draw. Rarely will I ever draw it and get out and have 1-for-1 at the same time. But you know what? Against certain matchups, it's really good, so I keep it in the side deck just for that reason. Just because of the fact that against some decks, it just wins. And probably my favorite side card of the deck, a card that some people think isn't good, but I personally love it. Debunk. Oh, where do I begin? This card was probably one of the MVPs of my side deck the entire time I was there, just because this stops Crow, Veiler. It stops so many things. It's unbelievable. But, you know, it's just really good. Some people would rather play one or none of them, but I kept this in for a good reason because I knew this card would be helpful against so many different matchups. I'm not sure how. Now, the one thing I wasn't sure about is if I'd played Gravekeepers, would this card have worked against if I tried to stop Recruiter? Because I know it can negate the effect, but will it still work even though it can't remove it from the graveyard? You know, I would think it would because it doesn't have to remove, but it was just something I was thinking about. So yeah, that was pretty much the deck. I doubt I'm gonna run this build continuously just because it'll probably get boring. I'll have probably another video or two tomorrow where I kind of discuss I'm either going to discuss the reprints that are going to be happening in the near future, or I'm going to be talking about my next project, which is going to involve Elemental Heroes. But you know what, you guys will just kind of have to wait and see with that. So peace out, guys.